doing all this stuff for you, so you don't really get a feel for the bigger picture. Understanding the bigger picture is vitally important to sustainable, harmonious, healthy life. If you don't have it, then you miss some of those things. So I split this in half. This was twice this size this morning, and it split so well. I said, I think I can do that during a class, as part of a class, and they can learn from it, so that's all the better. Usually I didn't make this handle, but most of my froze I did. This happened to be the closest one to grab this morning. I think this is an old broom handle, which is sort of fun to teach about reusing stuff. But I usually split the handle wood out the same way I split this out. So this is how we make our hoe handles, rake handles, shovel handles, most of our handles. And this split well enough this morning, I thought, I bet I can just show these folks. So one nice thing about the froe, which is really a wedge, this is the froe, and it's just a special kind of wedge that has a levered handle. You can kind of walk it around and get it in different places. Like right there, I just got about an eighth divided off on this side. Well, that's not right, because I want to walk it over here. I want it to basically be in half. Wood and most natural things like to be divided in equal strengths, that is, in half. So close to half. Again, this is not cutting, this is not sharp. In fact, froes are not supposed to be sharp, they're supposed to be dull. Because basically you want them to follow the grain, and you don't want them to cut it at all. There's another tool that I'm lacking, is a brake, which is something that holds it while you split it apart. It's just a forked tree branch, and you stick it down in there, and that holds it for you. In lieu of that, in the absence of it, I'm just using my legs to help hold on to it. I feel some resistance down here that's probably from this knot. See that little knot? I didn't see it until I started sensing it. When you become in tune with wood, you can hear it, sense it, feel it. In fact, this is a type of thing that blind people would often do back in the early days, splitting wood baskets, because they're actually at almost an advantage. They can feel it better, so they're not dependent on their sight. They're dependent on something that's more in tune with the wood. So I'll just see if I can divide this in half. Flip it back and forth to the two sides. I'll look and check and see how it's splitting. It's a little bit thicker on one side than the other, you see that? So that's something to be concerned with. Thick there. So one thing, if it's going to run out and destroy one of the bows, I would rather turn it over and come from the other side, but I'm not convinced yet that it's going to go bad. It's right on the border. So just to be careful, I'm going to turn it over, come from the other side, and it will run to that point of weakness, which is the already split part. At least it usually does. This seems to be the very bottom of the tree, the butt of the tree. It's really hard to split. Wood, it might not work, but that's because you're out of touch with the material, the world. But then again, if somebody makes your toothpick and imports it, then you don't really need to know, but that's part of the problem. But see, this is pretty interesting to be able to take what's around you in your world and know what it is. That's sort of like, to me, reality. Know what's going on in your world and how to make use of it. Does anybody want a homemade toothpick? Right.
Do you ever worry about getting close?
I don't worry about it in the sense of the word worry, because I know sort of how to handle it, and when I was younger and didn't know, then I got splinters and I learned from the experience. And that's part of what I'm saying about reality, and to being involved yourself. Being involved helps you be evolved. so I don't get splinters because I have that knowledge and it's inherent within me. It's almost like a muscle memory, so I don't have to think about it. Just like if you're a swimmer, you don't have to think how to move your arm. You just move your arm. Okay? So you could get splinters, and some are worse. Some species are worse than others, and that's all in my brain. Where when I pick up a certain species, I don't think, I could get splinters, because I quit thinking that back when I was a teenager. Now I just know it. It's just inside of me, and I know how to stroke the wood. Like I don't just take my hand and just jam it down there, because that's what it's splinter in the problem with rough like surface. So I'm taking away the rough surface to reveal what's more inside of it, just so I can see what's in there. And I'm feeling this flex so much, I'm thinking, well, if I take much more off, it's going to be too weak, and it won't even be functional. So I have to be thinking of that and be aware of that. Round down the edges. I pull this knife at an angle. I appreciate your question about splinters, because it's an important question. It's something that obviously would come to your mind. It's like, wow, what about splinters? And another thing that made me think about that is like, wow, aren't you going to cut yourself in half? A lot of times when people see this knife going straight towards you, it's alarming in imagination that you might cut yourself, and you sure could. Like if you came down here and cut across your leg, sharp enough it would go right through the pants pretty quickly. But generally people don't cut themselves. They would have to like keep going, and usually your arms stop back here, so you kind of brace your arms to keep them from going back any further. Like the basswood tree, it grows higher up on the top of that ridge up there. That reminds me, there's shiitake mushrooms that are ready to be picked on our mushroom logs. Very much as a random aside. So.
I have a bunch of bass blanks.
Oh, good. Let me see one there. I started with me and inspired here at Turtle Island as a summer camper, and then he went and got a very good, much more accomplished at it than I ever have been and probably ever will be. So it was a fun thing for me. It was fun for me to use the knife that he made. He hammered it out in the blacksmith shop. It's something that we hope will get you going on tomorrow. You got a little bit of a whetting of the appetite of it this morning. The knots and ropes are real important. They're the most underestimated value in natural living. Everybody's more interested in keeping something when they come to a survival camp, which this isn't really a survival camp, it's more like how to live camp. But a lot of people think we have a survival camp here, but if they do go to a survival camp and they're paying for a class, they usually get to learn more about something exciting, like how to rub sticks together to make the fire. But they can't really get excited, and the people that are running survival camps can't usually get them to pay quite enough to learn how to tie ropes together.